I'm Kero O'Shea, the host of tonight's Membership Voice webinar. I'm delighted to introduce the team from the Provisional Sunshine Coast Passport Rotary Club. I think Passport Rotary is one of the really exciting opportunities that we have before us these days, and these guys are launching a new Passport Rotary Club, and they've come to share their plans with us today. So at this stage, I'm going to hand over to project leader and lead presenter Christopher Rees. So over to you, please, Chris.
Thank you, Kero. Welcome all. Thank you very much for attending this evening's seminar. And first of all, this is just a plan or like a story of where we are, where we've come from, and what we're actually planning to do in the future. So as Kero says, any questions, then we can sort of deal with those at the end. But basically, we're looking at providing our members with a very much an inspiring club experience. And if I look, first of all, at the importance of service in Rotary, and this was a survey done about 4 years ago regarding why people actually joined Rotary. And as you can see, extremely important, very important, came out really on top. In fact, that represents 73% consider service as a key reason as to why they joined Rotary. Okay, that's good. Why? Well, we know why. We're all Rotarians. It's fulfilling, it's rewarding. And of course, it does help people of all ages to achieve their own personal objectives. And then we look at the situation as to why do members leave Rotary? A number of reasons, I suppose. Club culture, the cost, is it value for money? And the relevance, their relevance in 2020, that people still find it relevant to their lifestyles, lack of time, and the weekly meeting schedule, and of course, lack of involvement. But looking at all these things, I think one of the key reasons is that expectations have not been met. And as we all know, the danger period is in the first 1 to 2 years, when new members come on with a lot of enthusiasm and things don't always go the way they thought it would do. So the way I'm looking at this is, if 73% consider services as the key reason why they joined, then that should really be the focus on what the club does. And that should satisfy the majority of people. So we're encouraging new members, of course, to bring their own projects, get them involved in volunteering straight away. And if they can see that their efforts are making a difference, then that will surely go a long way to ensuring that they stay Rotarians for longer than 1 or 2 years. So we're looking at a flexible club experience. I will just bring to your attention the bottom right-hand corner, Rotary and Toastmasters International. A new alliance, of course, announced this year, January this year. And members attend Toastmasters meetings to learn how to be more confident speakers, communicators, and of course, leaders. And Toastmasters see their vision for the ongoing collaboration with the Rotary is to change more lives for the better and positively impact communities around the world. So the parallels between the two organisations are pretty close. And I see that as a really a good way forward for both organisations in terms of membership. I contacted 6 out of the local Toastmasters clubs, and they said, "Oh, someone from Rotary. Well, nice to hear from you." And we had good discussions, and hopefully from that, some of the members from Toastmasters will join us with the new club. So I think there's a pool of people within Toastmasters who could be Rotarians. So it's one worth thinking about. So we are a club in a provisional format. We're in the process of forming the club. And the concept basically is very simple. And that is to increase the opportunities for service. Young people, we want to attract more young people. Leaders, working professionals, and experienced Rotarians, and some of those that may have been lost to Rotary. but quite frankly, anyone that feels they have the skills to contribute, we want to talk to those type of person. We're trying to develop a club that's totally flexible to members' time demands. Basically, it's a service when you can. And as regards meetings, well, I'm not a great fan of meetings at all, to be honest with you. I spent a lifetime in meetings, and unless there's an objective, I don't really see the point in having them. So there are no meeting requirements, except for the one little caveat, which I'll come to later on. The Rotary definition of a passport club refers to the ability to move freely from club to club, attend the meetings of other clubs and build a rapport. And by building a rapport with other clubs, then we can jointly participate in each other's service activities. That's not always an easy thing to achieve, as clubs are not always open to working with other clubs. And as we know, we might even be seen as a bit of a threat, but I can discuss that later on. The other side of being a passport club is that we really want to encourage members to attend other clubs. And not only do that build a rapport, of course, but we bring fresh ideas back to the clubs, both sides, really. And we know that a passport club, and these are all Rotary standard phrases, improve their lives, making a difference, developing life skills, increasing service opportunities. But can all clubs actually offer that in their current format? Working on community projects and partnering with organisations you feel passionate about. And one of the key aspects for me in getting this up and started with Les was the fact that there are a lot of non-profit organisations out there who need help, who could do with some volunteering assistance. I'm not talking about the larger charities. I'm talking about smaller, 5 or 6 people charities, and they could do with assistance. And if we can offer project assistance to help these people on the way, then that's got to be a good thing. So we're open to working with people of a non-profit organisation, people who we've built up a partnership with, basically. And I get back to this service thing all the time. And we can talk about fellowship. Yes, that's important. That's absolutely vital to the whole culture of a club. But being involved in service is key to members being engaged in what they're doing and allowing them to make decisions. And I've just spent my time as a president of the Rotary Club of Caloundra, and everything seems to come back to the president. And that's not really empowering for the other members, because they leave it to the president after time to sort something out. So these are the things which we're looking at, an all-inclusive type organisation where everyone is involved. Key points: no attendance requirement over and above 1 meeting per year. That's what we're looking at, 1 meeting per year, and that could even be the AGM. We intend as a club to meet twice monthly, either online, and certainly at the moment there's no other option. We're looking at Zoom and as a tremendous option of meeting online. Informal, we could meet in a park on a Sunday afternoon. We could meet in a conference room somewhere. So it's really where we decide at the time when majority prefer. The focus is on service, and we set a sort of 30 hours a year expectation on club projects or working with other Rotary clubs or non-for-profits. That is not particularly high. Most of us in Rotary clubs do a lot more than that. But we wanted to set a start point where people will feel comfortable, people that perhaps haven't done service opportunities before, wondering what they're letting themselves in for. In fact, we've actually reduced that to 20 hours for students. So the club will invite other organisations to submit requests for our members to volunteer. But I go back to what I just said. We don't want to be effectively just a hired help organisation. We do want to get involved and develop our own projects. So, except for the benefit of the club, we would have no guest speakers. And as I say, we would have a guest speaker if they're coming to talk about a specific project which we want to get involved in. But it's not our objective to have guest speakers purely to give them money at the end of their presentation, which is what happens at a lot of clubs. And even though it may be a good cause, we would look to be involved in the cause if he's to see it's worthwhile. So there's no fundraising really except for Rotary Foundation, which we're committed to doing, of course, and specific club projects. So we're looking at a fully inclusive membership fee with no meeting charges. And that's a question which we're expecting at the end, which we'll deal with. So where are we with the club development? We're well advanced. The rules, the constitution have been approved in principle by RI, active members only. Members are asked to attend when able, attend a meeting at least once a year, volunteer for at least 30 hours a year. We would hope that we've created a culture in the club that people want to come to meetings and that they want to volunteer more than 30 hours a year. The meeting details always be put on the website in advance. As regards the board, we're looking at a maximum of 8. The board will meet every month. The structure of the board will be probably very similar to what many clubs have already. For the first year, we won't obviously have an immediate past president and a secretary and director of club administration, treasurer. So those are the basic positions. And in respect of committees, we want people to be involved in committees who want to put their hands up to be part of the club's development. And by all means, the biggest job is obviously service projects and vocational service, etc. There's a lot of potential there. I would see most of our members on service projects committees. The other important thing is partnerships. We're not gathering money from meetings. We don't make anything on meetings. So we have to look at where are the funds going to come from. Yes, we can organise our own fundraisers for the benefit of the club, but I am looking at various businesses in the Sunshine Coast area who will be interested in sponsoring us. That's no tall order in the current situation, of course, but as I say, Rome wasn't built in a day. We have to keep at that aspect. So here's the website, Sunshine Coast Passport Rotary. It's up and running. There's a lot of information on there regarding what we're trying to achieve. And the one thing that's absolutely vital to the development of the club is a strong social media strategy. I'm very lucky to have Les Walsh on board, who has single-handedly handled our social media strategy, Facebook, potential members group, private members group, Zoom for online meetings, although we are actually looking at Teams as a system. It's a document, can be used as a document retrieval system and also a system for having meetings. Meetup groups, perhaps there's a cost associated with meetup group. LinkedIn, YouTube, and we use MailChimp for our mailers. So where are we at the moment? We're probably, I think we're done the launch part. We're into what is Passport Rotary. If there's any questions on the social media, I will direct straight to Les, who's the expert. And we'll be moving on to Rotary Briefly Explained, which is an adaptation from a presentation by Rotary Oceania for 12 days. And then The Impact Begins With You, another adaptation from RD Rotary District 7070. LinkedIn, we're looking at LinkedIn to get interests and ask questions, Instagram, etc. So it's all very ongoing, and it's proved to be very successful so far. We've got our first interest meeting on Tuesday. We have 20 registered and I think 5 guests, so that's very encouraging. So going back a little bit, summarising, we do want to work with traditional clubs. I want to see both flourish in the Sunshine Coast District, certainly District 9600, I know there are clubs which are diminishing their ability to offer service, not only because there's been a number of members that have left, but we're all getting older, and as we all know, you are not as capable as you were 10 years ago to do certain tasks. So the membership is shrinking in more than one way. We did look at this. The whole aspect of poaching was put to me very early in the phase of this development. One thing that I've been very, very mindful about, it's not our intention to poach members, but I have had to agree that we would not take more than 5 Rotarians from existing clubs during the charter period. To be fair to the other 7 or 8 clubs in our area, they're not really that concerned about it, which is good. If clubs are concerned, then I would suggest that they perhaps think about the model of Rotary that they're offering. If the membership is declining, then that needs to be addressed. But I repeat, we want to really bring on people, Rotaractors, past and present, people of a spectrum interest that have never signed up. We've had people into our meetings, very keen, and then when we follow it up, they haven't joined, and they just say, well, it wasn't for me. And that's as far as you get sometimes. So past Rotarians looking to get back into volunteering. Facebook, we get a lot of interest from Facebook potential members group, and again, the LinkedIn present. So the interest meetings, and we're planning, 3, 4, however it takes to give people our objectives and the culture of the club. And there is an online application form on the website. Member fees have been kept low because we want to be able to attract people from all walks of life. And speaking personally, being a Rotarian is expensive. And most of the costs that I have incurred, which I've been happy to do, been on attending meetings and having lunches and things. And that shouldn't really be the case. So depending on the mix of members, we may have to subsidise the fees. Nothing unusual about that. Many clubs actually do that, as we know. During the first year, we are looking at least one major fundraising event. One thing we're not short of is ideas for fundraising, and that would be required to balance the income against the planned setup cost. The setup costs are not that high in respect of the website, etc., the Zoom costs, and then the incorporation costs, which we'll need to have once we've chartered. The key costs come really when we start looking at marketing and the equipment we're going to need, such as banners and marquees and things like that. And that's where the partnerships come in. So we'll be pursuing grants where possible, and the expenditure and the timescale for the development of the club will clearly be dependent upon the incoming finance. But I say, this is work in progress. We haven't got all the answers. So we feel certainly it's an opportunity to create a different type of club on the Sunshine Coast. There are 7 very good clubs here. They're traditional clubs, and apart from 1 or 2, they're all seeing a reduction in their membership. And the one thing I come back to, which I mentioned earlier about leadership skills, especially with the younger ones, if you get younger people on board, there's great opportunity for them to get involved in all sorts of projects, and it does help the whole aspect of developing leaders. And the Toastmasters, I'm pretty keen about that, as you probably gathered. I think that's a great opportunity. Having spoken to 2 or 3 of them, they're really switched on guys, and certainly I'll be attending their meetings when I can, when we're allowed to, of course. And of course, we just want people, if they're happy to just turn up and volunteer, they don't want to do any more than that, brilliant. We need those people. Not everyone can be leaders, and everyone can take part in all these committees and etc. The members are the most important thing in any club, and if they just want to turn up and volunteer, then that's fine by us. As long as we make sure that they're investing their time wisely and have fun and make new friends. That's what Rotary's about, isn't it? Okay, thank you very much. Took slightly longer than I thought, but Kiro, over to you.
Thank you, Chris. We do have some questions for you, mate. I think you've a very, very thought-provoking presentation, but still room for more questions, folks. If you want to add to the list, that's great. I think we'll start with past District Governor Karen's question. How did you get the original interest group together? Are any of them ex-Rotarians or current Rotarians?
The original interest was that?
Yes, the original interest group.
It's something Les and I discussed regarding when we were members, well, we're still members we're on the board of the Caloundra Club, and he knows my opinion about wanting to do more service. I wanted to do more service, and Les said, well, I'm up for helping you with this passport club. I did take a number of sound bites with a number of people who had already started up passport clubs. Andy down at the Gold Coast, a good chat with Brett Williams at Tasmania, and spoke about how they did it and how they went about and the challenges that they faced. And we have faced some challenges, we really have. And it just seemed to me the right version of Rotary for 2020. Does that make sense? It just seemed the right version because I was attending meetings every week and not feeling that we were doing enough service. And that's not why I joined Rotary.
Chris, there's three of current members of Caloundra that are, if you like, first charter members to make application.
Yeah.
Beyond that, the social media campaign has generated interest from 20 other people that we don't know. We have no idea in most cases where they came from, why they've signed up for the webinar, etc. So largely we would hope that out of 20 people that we get a reasonable number to convert into filling in the application form. But from 3 we've gone to 20 odd, and we hope that's heading us towards the 20 or 25 members that we want to charter.
Great. Thanks, Chris and Les. Just going on from something you said during your presentation, where you talked about what I regard as a really controversial topic in Rotary in this day and age, where we're looking to grow the organisation, to enhance the movement and the like. We talked about poaching and limitations on taking members from clubs. Now, our reality in this day and age is that members don't belong to clubs. Clubs belong to members. And if someone's dissatisfied with what they're doing now, but they can't fit within, say, the agreed number limits, we might well find that folk get up and leave if they can't make the move. So how are you really sort of coping with things like that?
Well, there was a bit of concern originally about this aspect, and there was a club started in the States which had a similar issue. And it was an issue with our club. It was mentioned from day one. For charter, we've just agreed that we will not take more than 5 Rotarians. After charter, then people are free to do what we want. But this is I've been asked, if I just phrase that we've been asked if we do not charter with more than 5 existing Rotarians. And I've no intention of seeing other clubs struggle. Perhaps I'm living in a different thought pattern here. I desperately want to see the whole Rotary organisation succeed with all clubs. But it is clear that there's a reduction going on in membership. And I won't go through all the figures now. I have looked at them, and it's frightening, to be honest with you. And and basically, change needs to take place, and I think everyone recognises that. And whether it's taking place quick enough is another story. But no, look, we're just basically doing what we've been asked to do.
I think any kind of new club, it doesn't just have to be a passport club, but my experience would be that, like, I've been involved in starting 2 new Rotary generation clubs, and we had significant opposition to doing that. But now that they're up and running, everyone thinks they're fantastic, and they can see that they attract people that wouldn't be attracted to a traditional Rotary club. But at the start, it was really hard going.
Yeah.
Really hard going.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah.
But bear in mind, one of the key things, though, is that we do want to attract people that perhaps who've never been Rotarians, and we want to attract people from Rotaractors, which is no mean feat, actually. But I have a sort of view on that. Effectively, we want new people into Rotary, and if we're just going to be taking members from other clubs, then we haven't increased the family. It's still the same as it was. It's still reducing, and that's not what, personally, I think we should be looking to bring in more people. There's a lot of people on the Sunshine Coast here, I feel, that would want to take part in service projects, but they haven't got the right model.
Next question for you, Chris.
Yeah.
It's from District Governor Tanya from District 9980, so thank you for that, DG Tanya. Is your district providing a set-up grant?
We're negotiating.
So it's still an unresolved question.
I haven't got anything yet, but I'm pretty confident. It's a work in progress, Tanya.
So next question: how are you going to deal with Rotary education for your members, given that you don't have the say traditional sort of get-together sort of arrangements? How will you deal with that?
We do. We don't. We get together socially. We'd call up. We're not like an e-club. We would get together every other week, probably twice a month, and it would either be online or we'd say, well, let's get together on a Sunday afternoon. We'll meet down at the park. And luckily, the weather here at the Sunshine Coast is mostly sunny, so we could. I don't see that as an issue. One of the things I've thought about is fellowship. And there are many Rotary clubs that meet every 2 weeks anyway. That seems to be a growing trend. Certainly around here it is. So we still meet. We do meet. We may not meet in person, but we do meet. And I like the whole fellowship thing. And I think that's absolutely vital to keep the culture of teamwork going. So no, we will meet. It's not a case of not meeting.
Super. Thanks, Chris. Next question comes from Marcus. Marcus tells us he's considering using Rotary Connect Cairns, a hybrid name, but more attractive from a marketing strategy. And the question is, who is your sponsor club, and are you having any issues getting backing?
We don't have a sponsor club.
Don't have a sponsor club. Okay.
No, well, basically, Les and I were, I was president, Les was public image and director, and we informed the club what we wanted to do. We had discussions with them at board level to say that I'd like to start a passport club, and the response was actually very favourable. They said, yeah, we understand. And then the whole aspect of how we're going to do this. Obviously, I felt there was a conflict of interest, me staying on as president. But they seemed quite happy for a while for me to carry on. And then we both stood down and took leave of absence so we could concentrate on this. And that really was the advice that the district was giving us. There's nothing new about this. Clubs are trying to set up all the time. But I didn't want to be promoting the passport club, certainly while I was still the president. It wasn't fair.
The club was also given the first opportunity to convert to a passport club or the principles of a passport club and they declined to do so. So we needed to move ahead.
Very true.
Marcus, your question is very interesting because there is just a new club that's been chartered in Sydney, and I haven't got the exact name in front of us, but there is no location, there is no identification really. Mark Kero, do you remember the name of Rebecca's club?
The Provisional Rotary Social Network.
Yeah, that's right. They've just chartered with, is it 30 members, I think, and it's quite interesting to see what they've done.
It certainly is. It certainly is. Now, this is a very timely question from John Clements of the Rotary Nomads, who John did a great presentation for us last week. And John points out the obvious about our alumni. We have a huge number of alumni attached to Rotary. As John puts it, there's a huge number of people who've been involved in Rotary programs such as Rilo, Right Pen, Youth Exchange and the like, and who aren't currently connected to Rotary. Has your district or other clubs in the district given you any pointers towards any of these alumni? Because many of them are really open to giving back and to joining particularly innovative Rotary clubs.
It's something we haven't really addressed at the moment. We've been concentrating on, if you like, the Rotary actors and the reason why Rotary actors should take our dual membership. But we haven't targeted alumni at this stage, but it's obviously on the list.
Thanks, Chris and Les. A question regarding, recalling what you were saying about empowering all of your members and not having such a focus on the presidency. One of the earlier studies that we did in Membership Voice was to look at reasons why Rotary clubs closed, and one of those, not surprisingly, was to do with clubs not being able to fill the presidency, which came just behind sort of not being able to find secretaries and treasurers and the like. How are you going to make sure that while you're empowering your members, that you also have an attractive presidency, that there's something that makes people want to be president?
Can we take that one? This is all to do with succession planning. It's important that you know who your president is going to be well before the AGM comes up. And that was an issue that we faced, that we didn't have a president-elect for a year. And that's obviously no way to run a club. If you recruit the people that are leaders who want to achieve, then they'll want to put their hands up. It's as simple as that. If you have to recruit the right people, and this will mean they're joining our club because they want to do service project. That's why they're joining. So I can only assume that most of those members will want to take more senior positions. You've got to have a succession plan where you have to have committees where you can bring people along. Otherwise, the whole traditional thing will fall back on the president. And I've seen it from first hand, and we've probably all seen it if we've been presidents, is that it all goes back on the president. And I tried to stop that when I was at Caloundra, and it didn't really work. It didn't work. So it's absolutely vital that you have a succession plan. And these are things you have to discuss with people during the recruitment phase and say, hey, we'd like you to come on board. What are your plans? And we need to determine whether these are achievers, where they're team players, or where they're power people, they're power orientated. And there are basically people that can be split into three areas, and you need a combination of the two. But you need people that want to put their hands up, and it's all about getting people on board who want to develop. If they don't, then it won't happen.
Thanks, Chris.
So, Kiro, we had Andy on our meeting the other night, Andy from 9640, and he was thinking about what's happened with coronavirus and all of us being at home and stuff, and he made some really quite bold statements which sort of blew our socks off. But he said things like he believes that in the next 3 to 5 years, or even sooner than that, Rotary needs to look at new leadership models, and maybe we shouldn't even have presidents. Maybe we don't even need district governors or whatever. But the whole Rotary scene will change, and these are some of the things that, for example, there might not be any international assembly to even train district governors coming up because all our borders are closed. So we're going to be forced to think about how we train these people now. We're going to be forced to think about what's our model, because are we getting leaders who are actually thinking about the future, or are they worried about their district governor visit, or whatever. It was quite thought-provoking. I don't know what you thought, Tania, but I was absolutely, he just blew my socks off because I hadn't even thought. Yeah, and if you think about it, one of the reasons we struggle for presidents in our district, in our clubs, it is the biggest issue, and we've tried numerous things, but essentially it's a failed model, and we should probably be thinking about how we could lead differently, have leadership differently in the club.
Absolutely.
In the clubs.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting. Andy, as I say, he just blew our socks off. We were like, oh my god, our whole wee world. We're even talking about, yes, it's great to have this online training, but actually for young people, it's not modern enough. Telling them how to suck eggs, as they've pointed out to quite a few people. And so, a whole model of training, for example, perhaps we should look at that. And even the way we train our presidents right now, is it actually effective? Because if it is, we would have much better presidents, and we would have people wanting to step into those roles. So, it's things to think about. But as I say, Andy was talking to us about that just on Sunday night.
Yes, I had a chat with Andy about the same thing about a week ago. Obviously, not as much detail as he possibly went into with the presentation he gave, but no, that's addressing things like that really is I think, an imperative for us now, because it's fairly obvious that whilst the notion of a club, a structure, a hierarchy and whatever, might be a source of comfort for older members, it's certainly not so for the people that we want to be the future of Rotary. And I'm thinking that really going to need to have a mix of options so that everyone can have a version of Rotary that really suits them, meets their needs, and that can form part of this great big network. And maybe more of a focus on the movement rather than the organisation. The organisation is there to as a skeleton to, if you like, support the flesh and blood, which is the movement, but it's the movement that people want to join. It's the Rotary that makes a difference in people's lives, and that's less the organisation and more the people on the move. Next, but thank you for that, past district governor.
Sure, I'll just come back on that.
Sure.
We've all done changeovers, and I had my first changeover, and I sort of it's given over to me with such relief by the outgoing president. Oh, I'm no longer president. Wow, isn't that wonderful? And I thought, yeah, okay. Well, and it shouldn't be like that. Most presidents do their year, and they can't wait to get rid of it, because it's been a year of fun. My first 3 months were fun, and then it just became a year of stress. Now, I was on the board of an engineering group, and they were we had 320 employees. We had 6 people on the group. The sales director dealt with sales. The financial director dealt with the money. And if we're setting up a structure of president, partnerships director, community service director, then they should just deal with that. And this is what I found very hard to get my head around. You make a decision, don't come to me. You're the director of that particular part of the club, and you know, as long as you're not going to start committing thousands of dollars, then you make a decision. And this is why no one wants the president's job. And that's not going to happen in our passport club, because that is not the way forward for people to put their hands up. And you've got to have this succession planning.
Yep.
There from day one. You've got to start identify people who are going to take on certain roles and give them the tools to get that. I was asked to become president after being in the club for 3 months.
That was my fault.
Yeah, my experience is in business and project management. I had no problem with actually undertaking the role. What I found difficult was is that everything seems to keep coming back to this. It's the president. We asked the president.
Because no one was prepared to take responsibility.
Exactly.
And everything had to come back to a board meeting, and then the board meeting took forever.
Just coming back to this presidency, we actually got the story of Brisbane Ports, the Brisbane Ports Rotary Club.
Yeah,
I think that's the name, is it Port Brisbane or Brisbane Port? And they, as part of the renovation of their club, looked at what they dumped on the president and actually went through and offloaded a lot of that stuff and actually made the job much more attractive. So if we are going to, for those clubs that are going to have a president, they might well save their bacon by doing that kind of thing. And certainly certainly what you're talking about in terms of delegation is spot on. But I have another question for you from John from the Nomad. John asked, how far afield would you want your target membership to live? Like, how big do you want your catchment area to be?
Well, we've debated that, and it's interesting to see. We haven't limited the area except to the broader Sunshine Coast. We have significant interest from 2 areas. One is Caloundra and one is Maroochydore, and they're about 45 minutes apart. But beyond that, we've got interest going further north to Karoi, up to Buderim, Nambour, and I don't think it really matters if we meet in a location that is favoured by the majority of members at a time that suits them. And if people can't get there, then we revert to the online medium.
So you're going to have a very flexible hybrid model there.
Yeah.
A question now. This is one that during my time as district membership director really got me wondering. We have a regular flow of potential new members by way of the RI referrals, which once upon a time were limited to a couple of people in the district, but because some districts didn't appear to respond as quickly as they might, it was opened up to assistant governors and others and became something of a free-for-all. But in terms of your being a new club, just as there's a point of view that you shouldn't take too many members from existing clubs, there is this flow of potential new members per the RI referrals. Has your district given you a priority on those referrals?
Not me, Les. So do you have any?
No, they haven't yet, but we're going to ask them.
I reckon that's certainly it certainly helped my club when I chartered it a few years ago. And it's, if we're looking to get new people into Rotary, giving them a new and refreshing model to be part of seems to me to be a great way to start. So tit for tat in terms of not touching current members to get first priority on the new ones.
Why not?
I'm making all sorts of notes here, Cara.
This is actually quite an interesting discussion because I've been looking to start a passport club where I live. And with no effort at all, I've actually got 8 members already, 8 people already. 5 of them are ex-Rotarians, actually, who left because they didn't like the model that they were engaged with. But I talked with Barbara Misfit, and one thing that she's done for me is she's just run me a report showing all the ex-members in our whole district, actually, people who have left and never rejoined another club. And I'm actually going to be canvassing quite a few of them first at the end of this Rotary year when I get some time. So there is a lot of interest from ex-Rotarians in this model.
Absolutely. Thank you, Karen. An observation there that when we talk about Rotary alumni, everyone thinks about Youth Exchange and Rotaractors and all the others, but our biggest alumni group that dwarfs all the rest is ex-Rotarians. And some of these people actually left Rotary, as we found out, courtesy of a project that a university did for one of our districts. A lot of these people left because of infighting, negative behaviours in clubs. They actually liked Rotary. They didn't like the particular rat's nest that they were in at the time, or the behaviours they were exposed to. So I reckon what Karen is talking about there is a huge area of opportunity for you guys and for any other Rotary club that wants to rebuild or renovate itself.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, another question, and this one is we touched on earlier on, but we're living in the age of the pandemic. I think everyone is limited or restricted in terms of their movements as part of our process of saving lives and saving our health system. How has COVID-19 caused you to change your plan?
It hasn't, Les, has it?
It probably forced us online 100% rather than perhaps the original plan, which was to get together socially to talk about Rotary, etc. But yeah, I think it's a minor change, but obviously our interest meetings are online and will be online for the foreseeable future. But apart from that, I don't think any real change.
I think it just depends how long this goes on for. I think our first meeting is Tuesday, and that would have been probably at one of the local community centres so we can meet people face on. That's the whole intention. I mean, online is okay, but we like to meet people face to face. So yeah, that's the only. But in terms of our plan, we're just forging ahead as we are.
A lot of work being done by emails and on Messenger and answering questions and all that sort of thing.
Oh yeah,
I think for our club up in Cairns, we've become a bit of a stalemate. We're a very old traditional club, and a lot of our members have decided through support to family members being of age that we suspend meetings to the foreseeable future. And there's a range of people that have been travelling as well that are in isolation as well. So a bit of a struggle for our club.
It's a real pity when you see some of the really old traditional clubs just simply cancelling their meetings.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to embrace the online version.
Yeah, so I got a Paul Harris Fellow around innovation a few years ago, being club president, and a bit of a stalemate on the progression into connecting with clubs and members through various technologies. rather than tap into some members' skill sets that would allow clubs to continue with their weekly or fortnightly or monthly meetings. So, yeah.
One of the interesting
Andy said a really good thing the other night that I hadn't thought of. He said, I say to some of the older members, if you can open an email, you can join a Zoom meeting. And I never actually thought about it like that. And in my day job, I actually do a lot of work in the community. And in New Zealand, obviously, we're all in lockdown, so we've been doing a lot of Zooming. And today I had a meeting with the community board. And when we had first initially talked to them about getting some technology going, they were like, oh, no, we don't need that shit, blah, blah, blah. And today they were like, oh, my God, this is awesome. Oh, And I just sent them the instructions. This is all you have to do. Put the meeting number in, and that's it. You'll be on, Press this link. And they're beside themselves. They think it's fantastic. So sometimes it's like, because you're forced to, suddenly it doesn't seem such a big deal. And the other point I'd make, Kiro, is that Andy said that really resonated with me, is that he believes this is the biggest opportunity ever for Rotary to get younger people into Rotary. People under 30 are loving this. The international connectivity of our organisation, if you go onto the website where you can join 100 and something meetings over the world, that is something that really appeals to them, and he's saying this is an amazing opportunity when we are allowed out, or even if we're not, to be honest. But and I hadn't thought about it like that. I was thinking, as the membership director of our district, oh my God, this is the biggest disaster ever. This is going to be terrible. And I just hadn't thought about the opportunities that he pointed out to us the other night. I don't know how you felt about it, Tanya, but I was actually quite motivated afterwards about it. I was like, oh my God, he's absolutely right. Yeah, this is the best opportunity we've ever had to show how international and how connected we actually are for younger people.
And I think, Karen, we can never miss the opportunity of not becoming a Kodak and becoming the Apple of the future. And if we continue just to run our clubs the way we've been running them, and we're only attracting a small segment of the market, we've just lost the grip on what Rotary's about. Rotary's got a huge future if we get the right marketing, the right attraction to everything that Rotary has. Because I would be in Rotary if it doesn't give me a meaning, but it's got to be attractive. It's got to have a cause. It's got to have the right vibe. It's got to be not only attractive to an 18-year-old, but it's got to be attractive to a 70-year-old. But we've got different club styles that can attract all of that. And, I've done a district chair with Probus, and I go to a Probus meeting, and I've got 17 members at a Probus meeting. I go to a Rotary Club meeting, and we're 20. What's going on? What's wrong? And, it's like we've just got to get the formula right around how do we keep building Rotary to become the people that want to do the volunteer, or they want to do the social, or they want to do the more retirement style club, which is, ideally Probus. But we've got more Probus members in this country than we've got Rotarians now. So we've got to get this right. And the formulas around these different style clubs, we've just got to keep investigating. And, I'm not necessarily a fan of all the names of these new clubs, because I think it's got to work from a marketing perspective. If you've got a 20 or 30-year-old searching and they go, oh, it's called a XYZ club, I go, maybe we haven't got that quite right yet from a marketing perspective. But whatever you do under the umbrella of a satellite club or a satellite club through to a passport club or any other club, we've just got to make it work and get people into Rotary, because I come from a country background, and, we had a Lions club that had a field day every bloody month, and they were making hundreds or thousands of dollars through just doing little stuff that didn't really cost them much, but their marketing through everyone goes, oh, even if at a funeral I would donate to the Lions Club because they do such good work in the community. And it's like, we've got to get that stuff back into our community.
Well,
I've had enough to say now. Sorry.
Just come back to our two webinar presenters. I do appreciate the conversation. Yeah, a question about relationships and network, because Rotary is a potentially wonderful network that often behaves like a group of disconnected network nodes. How are you going to develop that rapport with your neighbouring Rotary clubs?
I think that's a challenge, actually, Tiro. I think it is going to be a challenge. I think we all accept that Rotary clubs do a wonderful job in respect of getting volunteers out. The issue we have, of course, is that we're not recruiting our losses. It's one in, one out. You lose one, you gain one. You lose one, you gain. That's no future. I think clubs have to wake up and understand that we have to all work together. And if I was president of a club and I could only get 5 members out to a volunteer organisation, and the local club said, "Hey, I've got 6 you can have," I'd bite their hand off and say, "Yeah, fine." I think one of the issues is that Rotary clubs protect their little areas, like it's their own bank account. They protect it, and thou shalt not pass through my area because you're only working on so-and-so area. And I think clubs have got to start working with other clubs far closer. And that's what I was hoping. I get on well with all the presidents of the existing, what you call them, the cluster clubs in Sunshine South. I know them all pretty well. And they've all, bar 2, have written to me saying, "Good luck, it's a good idea, and we're with you on that." So that's good. Now, when it comes to us working together, that will be the acid test as to how it is actually going to work. Clubs have just got to wake up to the fact that a lot of them are shrinking. And as Marcus said, that's no future for clubs to survive in this day and age. If we're not getting younger members in, then, you know, I spoke to my son, he's 35, and he'd be a great Rotarian. And he said, "Well, I wouldn't want to sit with a group of 70-year-olds listening to an invocation in the morning and a toast to Rotary, Australia. That's a great country, of course it is. And I don't want to listen to a guest speaker that I'm not really interested in. And then we have a little sergeant session at the end where we play silly games. Why should I come along to that?" And that is the tradition in a lot of clubs. And they wonder why their membership is reducing.
Well said, Chris.
You can build yourself into that, and you know, and that's what's happening.
But we're also encouraged to bring a guest to those style meetings.
And we've done that.
And the response is, "Oh, it's almost like religion, so I'm not going back there again."
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's just how it feels. And we speak in so many acronyms, and guests are going, "I don't know what we're talking about." And I like someone else that said earlier, you know, 3 months in, you become the club president. You go, "I don't know Rotary, I don't know your acronyms, and now I'm the club president, and no one wants to do it the year after, so I got the gig for 2 years." And I go, "Well, let me just explain it to people that are arriving, that are new people, and I'll put up on a big screen about the acronyms and spell it out." And the people go, "Oh, okay, we're happy to join because now we know what you're talking about." And I had 11 members join my club in the first year. It's like, because I needed to speak in normal language and stuff like that. You know, it's like, that's where I think we're skipping over stuff as well. I'm new to government, and we speak in acronyms every day, and I go, "I don't know what you're talking about." My hand up.
Thank you, Marcus. I think at this stage we might give District Governor Tanya a say. Thank you for listening so patiently, Tanya.
So I agree with you, Marcus, on the acronym things. I hate acronyms. At my president-elect training, I said to my president-elects that I would not use acronyms in my year, and I don't. I don't use them in emails. I don't use them in my newsletters. I don't use them when I speak. Yeah, they do my head in. But the whole, going to a meeting and all the, I wouldn't honestly bring anyone to my own club to a meeting. I know a lot of really community-minded people. My employers are very community-minded. Yeah, I just wouldn't bring them because I don't think they would get out of it what I see Rotary should be about, which is doing service, which is why as a district governor, I didn't do traditional district governor visits. I sent out a video at the start of the year and I asked clubs to invite me along to help with projects. So I didn't go to any club meetings other than by virtue of sending a video. And we went along and helped with projects and it was so much fun. And I decided in my year that that's what I wanted to do because doing stuff is what matters to me. And there's no point doing this role if you're not having fun doing it. So, it's been great right up till we had the brakes put on us 4 weeks ago.
Tanya, I wonder whether we could have a chat later on about that. That sounds like a marvellous model of being a district governor. I have some vacancies on my webinar schedule, and I'd really like to get that story. So maybe we have a chat about that. Anyway,
sounds like there should be more videos.
Oh, there are. There will be more for sure. So thank you, everyone. About an hour and a quarter ago, Chris asked me how long this was likely to take. He said, about half an hour or so? And I naively said, yeah, it could be about that. Thank you for being such a fantastic audience and firing those questions in and the conversation pieces too. But absolutely, I think Chris and Les, I think you may have gathered from the response from tonight's audience that you guys are undertaking a terrific task here. You deserve success. Your ideas, I'm sure everyone agrees, your ideas are fresh. Your approach is innovative. And congratulations, Chris, on a wonderful presentation, and Les for being a fantastic support crew. I think you two are a team that is going to succeed, and I look forward. Here we go again. A little sort of look into the future. I look forward to a progress report at some stage.
Good.
I hope to give you one. Thank you all very much for attending.
At this stage, let's all turn our microphones on, and let's hear a huge round of applause for our presenters. So, thank you, everyone. Thank you in particular,
Thank you.
Chris.
Super
nice
conference.
To meet you guys.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
And we do have more webinars on the way, possibly.
Good on you, Kiro.
Well done.
No, by the way, Karen, you said some things there tonight that mean I need to talk to you too.
I like talking to you, man. I like talking to you.
Yeah.
No worries. Okay, everyone.
Cheers. Bye.
You're going on to midnight in New Zealand by now.
It's only 10 o'clock.
Thank you.
I've got to go to now.
Kia ora.
Excellent.
No worries.
Yeah,
So,
Kia ora.
good night, everyone.
Kia ora.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Take care.
Well done, Kira.
Hey, well done, you two. Thanks, Les. Thank you. But well done, you two. Great presentation there, Chris. Spoken from the heart and came in. Your timing was perfect, Les, I thought. Great tag team. Well done.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
We will, as I say, we'll give you a progress report as to how things are moving forward. But as I said to you when we first spoke, I said, well, what a time to be trying to start a new Rotary Club. And you said to me, it looks like an opportunity.
Yes.
And we'll get through all this, as we keep saying, and hopefully we come out the other side with a nice, strong, innovative club.
I think you will, and I look forward to hearing more about it. So I would reckon the recording should be ready to go within a couple of days. Don't know what else is on the schedule at the moment. So I'll fire it up to you. Make sure that you're happy with the thing. I reckon I might just take out some of the peripheral conversation.
Yeah.
Some of it was useful. Some of it was good in its own right.
Yeah.
It kind of drifted off topic a bit. And I want people who come in to watch the recording to really get the focus of what you guys are about, rather than perhaps get lost in innovation. That's nice ideas.
Good.
Okay.
Thanks, Caro.
Thanks, Caro.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Les.
Thank you again.
Caro, just before you go,
Yep.
one of the guys that was there tonight was our third compatriot.
Oh, who's that?
Was Brian Wallace.
Oh, yeah.
And so he tuned in. So he's the he makes up the trio.
Ah, fantastic. The more committed and energetic folk you've got working on something like this, the better it is, because you're always going to sort of have those sort of moments when you sort of run into a bit of a brick wall or something, or you get someone dumping stuff on you. Having a team to sort of bounce things around is great.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, see you.
Okay, see you guys. Take care. Take it easy.
Bye.